Hey everybody, it's Joe. We're here with Dad on our trip in the 414 up to Rochester that I told you guys about yesterday. Got a great response on the video that I put up last night asking for your questions. So as promised, we're going to take you along here in the cockpit for a few minutes and talk about some of those things. Don't have any of the cameras, any of the Garmin verbs or anything like that set up, but I'll take you through the cockpit and show you what's going on. And let's answer some questions, though. So, Nomo Yo-Yo, what's up, man? You're always asking questions, posting comments. I really appreciate the support, and you're a fellow Naples guy. So, Nomo Yo-Yo, I appreciate the following. So, he has two questions for us. Number one, do I always fly with a co-pilot? That's his first question. And number two, are we contemplating any avionics upgrades for the airplane? So to answer question number one, I always fly this airplane with a co-pilot at the moment because I'm still finishing up my training in the airplane. So anytime I fly the airplane, I'm always flying it with Pops over here. And he's been an excellent instructor, and I'm getting very comfortable with the airplane. So yeah, I always fly with a co-pilot. Does he always fly with a co-pilot? 7 out of 10 times he flies it with me as a co-pilot these days. That is more true now than it used to be. He's done a lot of single pilot flying in the airplane over the years, thousands and thousands of hours of single pilot flying over the years. But in recent years, I've spent more time flying with him because I have more time to do that. And that's the deal. So I always fly it with him, and he doesn't quite always fly it with me, but most of the time. Avionics upgrades, have we talked about that? Sure. We've really considered that, and you guys have seen what our panel looks like, and it's not exactly what you'd call the latest and greatest, so to speak. It's got some pretty antiquated equipment, but our philosophy has been that it's taken us all over the country for the last 18 years, and if you don't have to upgrade it, then at that point it's merely something you like to do and not something you have to do. Although we are getting to the point now with ADS-B and that mandate coming up in 2020 where we're going to have to do some panel work. So as long as we don't upgrade to a turboprop or a jet, we'll probably do some serious avionics work with this airplane. And you asked about synthetic vision, so yes, we would do Garmin G600, GTN 750s, probably do a new Garmin radar. We probably keep the autopilot, but we would do a total panel revamp and would replace just about everything. So, Nomo Yo-Yo, thank you, my friend. Let's see here. Who asked this question? I can't read my own handwriting, but somebody asked if we ever considered a Navajo. I don't think you ever really considered a Navajo, did you?
I never considered a Navajo. I have a lot of Navajo Chieftain time. I think it's a great airplane. I think among the medium or larger twins out there, it was always a good regional charter airplane. That's pretty much how I flew it. So I can only have good things to say about the Navajo, but at the end of the day was more partial to the Cessna airplanes. I've got a lot more time in twin Cessnas, so that's why I chose the 414.
And I'm sure you wanted the pressurization too.
Wanted the pressurization. The airplane's faster. It gets above the weather a little bit better than the Navajo will. And I just thought for my needs, this was a much better airplane in terms of the way we fly and what we wanted it to do.
Gotcha. So Brenda French wants to know what the transition was from the 310 to the 414 from a pilot standpoint. I can't answer that question because when we made the transition from the 310 to the 414, I was a very, very, very young man. I was single-digit ages, so I personally made a very simple transition from the 414 to the 414. It involved climbing out of the 310 and walking up the air stair and getting in the 414. That was about as much of a transition as I made at the time. But I'm sure Dad can tell you a little bit about his transition from flying the 310 to flying the 414.
Well, it was a fairly straightforward transition for me. I had owned and operated a 310R for about 16 years, had several thousand hours in that airplane. Also had a lot of 400 series Cessna time, primarily in the Conquest 2, the 441 with the Dash 10 conversion. So this airplane fell somewhere in between. Was really just about getting a checkout to satisfy insurance requirements. Based on my experience, that was fairly minimal and straightforward. So the transition to this airplane was really done in an afternoon. Very straightforward based on my experience.
Very good. Very good. Brendan French, thank you very much for the question. Keep them coming. Let's see here. Paul Bickley, do we ever get worried about forgetting things when we're going somewhere important like New York? So,
Endeavor 4012.
So I said yesterday we're going to Rochester, New York. We're based in New York too, so we're based in Orange County, New York. We're making this trip up to Rochester today. That takes us in this airplane about a little over an hour to do. It's about 170 miles. It takes us a little over an hour.
Depends on the wind, what the wind's doing.
Today it's going to take us a little over an hour. Sure, I mean, you're always worried about forgetting something, but that's why we have checklists, and we do a pre-flight, and we double check and triple check to make sure that we have everything we need. Yeah, you always want to double check yourself and make sure that you're not going to forget anything. From time to time, it does happen. Just like when you get on the airlines and you realize that you left something at home that you needed. Well, you get in your own airplane to go somewhere, and every now and then you realize that you left home without something that you needed. It's a fact of life, but we do the best that we can to avoid it. Well, thank you for the question. Let's see here. Man, I have some bad handwriting. So, this was the best question. Will J wants to know something we don't like about the 414, and that's an excellent question. I really like it. That was the first question, too. That was the first comment somebody posted, and it's an excellent question because I spend a lot of time talking about all the things there are to love about this airplane that I figured it was only a matter of time before somebody asked what we don't like about the airplane, and I told you that it took me all of about 2 seconds to come up with the answer to your question, despite there being so many good things about this airplane. And I talked to Dan about this last night. We both unanimously agreed that the only thing that, in our opinion, there is not to like about this airplane is speed. So the airplane is not quite as fast as we'd like it to be. The climb performance is a little less than we'd like it to be, but more than anything else, the speed is just, for an airplane this size, it looks like it goes a lot faster than it really does. So it's an honest 190 knot. It's an honest 190 knot airplane. Will it go the 225 knots that Ram says it will? Yes, if you're willing to go up very, very high, take it up into the mid-20s, which is no big deal with this airplane because it's pressurized, but if you're willing to go all the way up in the mid-20s and cruise it at 75% power, we're more conservative than that with our engine, so we fly at 65% power everywhere we go.
70%.
70%, I'm sorry. 70% power, but if you're willing to go up in the mid-20s and fly at 75% power, then sure, it'll go that fast. But if you want to fly the engines conservatively and get the best life out of them, it's better to consider this to be a 190 to 200 knot airplane. And it burns.
I don't quite agree with that. It's a 190 to 200 knot airplane down low, below 15,000 feet. Above 15,000 feet, it gets you between 205 and 210 at normal power settings. And if, as Joe says, if you want to go above 180 and get up into the low 20s, then you can see 215 to 220. I've never seen 225 through. I have seen 220. I'm comfortable with that for what this airplane is capable of doing.
But if it was a 250 knot airplane?
If it was a 300 knot airplane, it would make me very happy, but it's not.
If it was a 300 knot airplane, there'd be no sense in considering replacing it at any point.
Now, the flip side of that is that if you really love flying, then you get to spend more time in the airplane. So going a little slower does have some collateral benefits, but most pilots, as they get deeper into their careers, want to go faster. And if I had one thing to say about this airplane that would make me happier, if I could make it so, it would be that it would be about 50 or 60 knots faster than it is.
But if that's the only thing you can come up with in all the years that we've had the airplane, then that's doing pretty good.
I have no complaints overall about this airplane. I think that it's a great blend of comfort, performance, does a lot of good things. It's a quiet cabin, passengers like it. It's pressurized, it's air conditioned. It does pretty much everything you'd like it to do, or sometimes I'd like it to do it all a little faster.
Okay. Will J, awesome question. Thank you so much. Let's see here. X4457. X4457 has adapted my takeoff briefing and now uses it in his flying. He says he's doing some flying in some high-performance piston singles, and he has taken the briefing and adapted it and used it for his flying. So he said thank you. X4457, thank you. I appreciate you following the channel, and I'm glad that you were able to take that away from it and adapt it and apply it in your everyday flying. And that's very nice to hear. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And stick with us. Any more questions, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, X4457. And finally here, Moja1. I'm sorry. You had a question for me, and I didn't write it down. And I can't pull up YouTube at 10,000 feet. So, Moja1, I'm going to look at your question as soon as we get to Rochester, and I will answer it in a text comment.
2744 X-ray contact, New York channel 133.35.
3335, 44 X-ray, so long.
I will answer it in a text comment as soon as we get to Rochester, and then I promise the next time I do this video, you will get the first question answered. So, the next time we do this Q&A video, you get the very first one, alright? So that's about it for this one, guys. We're about 85 miles from Rochester, about a half hour to go. And as always, leave me a comment, hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and follow the channel for more videos soon. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you next time.